Welcome to Hannity. And tonight, big things are once again happening in the D.C. swamp at the Department of Justice. Attorney General Pam Bondi just announced a major new lawsuit against New York State. And that means New York Governor Kathy Hochul, Letitia James, and New York's DMV chief. Why? Because of their efforts to aid and abet in illegal immigration. We'll have a lot more on that straight ahead. And Stephen Miller will join us. Also breaking today, another legal win for President Trump. The Florida Appeals Court blasted the Pulitzer board. Remember the Pulitzer prizes for the phony Russia hoax? And ruled in favor of Donald Trump's defamation suit. That will now proceed. This all stems from the Pulitzer Prize gifted to the New York Times, Washington Post for perpetuating the Russia hoax. By the way, just for the record, we got it right on this show. They got it wrong. Meanwhile, it was another day of public humiliation for Democrats. They're losing it. The woke residents of liberal Massachusetts in a town there, they are now begging to become a sanctuary city for transgender people. Take a look.
The Jesus I know would be dressed in full drag and serving face. Or handsome as a trans man, or wrapped in the garb of a non-binary person who knows one gender is way too small to capture their gloriousness.
Okay, we've got the full highlights from that city council meeting. That's all coming up straight ahead. Plus, more sound yet from another congressional protest in Washington, D.C. This is like a daily occurrence. This time, Democratic lawmakers demanding reparations while calling President Trump a white supremacist. The only words missing were Stalin, Hitler, Mussolini, fascist, and Nazi, etc. Take a look.
White supremacy is rampant in this country. Just look at the current administration and our own legislative body. They have contributed to the social and economic harms, to racial terror Black folks have experienced in this country.
All right, a lot more coming up. So that is the current state of your Democratic Party. This is what they're doing with their time in Washington. And meanwhile, at the White House, Donald Trump, he's making history day after day. One more American hostage was freed today, this time from Belarus. Late last night, you might remember, on this program, we saw the White House arrival of another hostage freed by Vladimir Putin in Russia. Both hostages this week were released on unilateral deals without any conditions, no prisoner swap. And they mark the 10th and 11th American hostage now freed during Donald Trump's first 3 weeks in office. This is a monumental diplomatic achievement, and it begs the question, what the hell was Biden doing the last 4 years? Take a look.
The young gentleman that I brought home yesterday after 2 weeks, we worked on it for 2 weeks. He was a fine man, and he was in there for 3.5, almost 4 years. And they weren't able to do a thing, and I got him out. And as you know, I didn't pay $6 billion. I didn't pay anything. We did a trade, and we did a good job. We got him out in 2 weeks. He should have been out years ago.
Now, on the campaign trail, President Trump made a promise to bring all Americans home, and particularly promised his mother, 95 years old, that he would come home. He came home. Promises made, promises kept. Today, fake news CNN, a bewildered-looking Dana Bash, poor Dana, forced to listen as career diplomats heap praise on President Trump and his peace through strength agenda. Take a listen.
It's important to note here that this is 4 releases we've had in less than a month of the administration. It's quite extraordinary. It's really a very rare thing. We work sometimes for years to get people out. I've personally worked on one of these cases for a number of years, and so to see this person come out of Belarusian prison is quite extraordinary.
Maybe color me a skeptic that Lukashenko is somebody who just does something out of the goodness of his heart. There was nothing that he got at all.
As I said, he didn't get anything for this exchange. They are looking to improve their ties with us, and they're making smart choices by releasing these Americans and other political prisoners.
Now, President Trump, he is turning his attention to Europe after a productive phone call, long phone call today with Russian President Vladimir Putin. President Trump believes he is ready to begin serious negotiations to end the war in Europe. Ukraine versus Russia. This war has gone on for far too long. The suffering and loss of life is almost unthinkable. What Putin did to Ukraine is unforgivable, but we are at a stalemate. The killing, it can go on for years and years. No progress on either side. The only real alternative is that both sides come to an agreement, a negotiated settlement, end this war, draw lines in the sand, and hopefully live in peace. There is no other realistic solution. Democrats certainly don't have a plan at all, but there's no doubt they will be against anything Donald Trump decides to do. We see it every day with DOGE and cleaning up fraud, waste, abuse, corruption in your federal government. Well, that's a 90-10 issue. This is one that the American people agree with. An average American does not want to see their money being spent this way. Yet Democrats, they continue to act like the sky is falling. Take a look.
Elon, take your musty millions and musty Moscow rights to the moon. Because if you don't, we're going to stand up, we're going to speak out, we're going to march, we're going to do anything we need to do to make sure that the people of this country understand that the CFPB is for them. You get your musty hands off of our money or go to Moscow. You musty moon.
He's a little busy. He's going to rescue the astronauts that Biden and Harris abandoned. They lost in space for nearly 300 days. They were only supposed to be there for 8 days, and we expect that mission hopefully successfully completed by the end of March. Remember, the money wasted, this is your money. It is tens of billions of dollars spent on foreign countries for the advancement of the Democratic Party, their radical environmentalist agenda, DEI, transgenderism, LGBTQ plus advancement, and often through so-called non-governmental organizations, NGOs. But as Congressman Massey and Elon Musk are pointing out, if cutting government funding shuts down an NGO, it was never really a non-governmental organization. Just this week, DOGE uncovered more funding from FEMA to hotels for illegal immigrants in New York City. Despite the president's new executive order and ban, the bureaucrats in charge of those payments, they were rightly fired. And Secretary Noem clawed back that money. But over the past 4 years, billions were spent. And think about it. While the storm ravaged states like North Carolina, Tennessee, South Carolina, my state of Florida, Americans were sleeping in tents in North Carolina during the winter there. FEMA was shelling out millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars for illegal immigrants to stay in four-star hotels in Midtown Manhattan. Maybe we could have spent that money on our school system that's failing our kids. Maybe we could have deported Harris-Biden unvetted illegals. Maybe we could have hired more police to make our towns and cities more safe. In fact, the FEMA-funded Roosevelt Hotel was serving as a base of operations for the violent Latin American gang Tren de Aragua and was used to house Laken Riley's killer. Democrats are okay with this, but not okay with Elon Musk uncovering the waste, fraud, abuse, corruption of taxpayer money. How does any of that make sense? Elon was personally helping the people of North Carolina at his own expense, out of his own pocket. He was helping the people of California free Starlink to open up communications that people had when people had none. And he paid, and he's now going to go rescue those astronauts lost in space, abandoned by Joe and Kamala. After his first few weeks in office, Trump should be headed for a Nobel Peace Prize if the Nobel Peace Prize actually went to people that deserved it. Ultimately, Trump's biggest prize is restoring American greatness and saving lives, and a big part of that is hiring the right people for the job. For example, here's what freed American hostage Marc Fogel had to say about one of Donald Trump's top diplomats, Steve Witkoff. Take a listen.
I will forever be indebted to President Trump, to Steve over there. What a dynamic man this guy is.
That's true.
When I met him, the energy, the can-do attitude just exudes from his body. And when he smiled at me and introduced me and I got the feel for what has happened, you know, it's not just me, it's everybody.